3, 2, 1. And okay, we're live. Hey guys, what's going on? James here. I am joined by Billy for yet another episode of the MrBucsNation podcast. You guys can go check out Billy's YouTube channel at the top of the description in this live stream. I think we finally got the link to work, Billy, after a little bit of trial and error. I don't know why, but YouTube was like pretty weird about it. So, how you doing today, man?
Doing well. I hope that I'm not muted.
No,
Wishing
you're not muted.
everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hope you had a great time and are still having a great time. Best
Yeah.
time of year.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun time. You know what makes it even better, Billy?
What's that, James?
Is the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not lost for the entire month of December. Matter of fact, they have won every single game this month. Carolina Panthers, they beat them. The Atlanta Falcons, they beat them. The Green Bay Packers, they beat them. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they beat them. And now, and this is where I want to start off this video or this live stream, is our first topic of the day. Tampa Bay Buccaneers play the New Orleans Saints, Billy, to finish out the month of December. An opportunity to sweep the Saints, an opportunity to literally win and get in to the playoffs, Billy. How are you feeling about this upcoming matchup?
I gotta say, it's a foreign feeling to me, but I'm feeling fantastic about it. The
Okay.
Bucs competed against the Saints since Todd Bowles took over as head coach. Swept them last year, got them earlier this season in the dome. Now you got them at home, and this is what football is supposed to be, right? Late in the season, you get an opportunity to take on your greatest rival, right? The division foe that has been the most difficult for you to get by, biggest thorn in your side. You got a chance to take them on at home for a chance to get the division, go to the playoffs, secure a home playoff game. That's what it's supposed to be about. And for the first time in a long time, going into a New Orleans Saints game, I'm pretty optimistic. I feel pretty good. How about you?
I will say I do feel positive, especially that with the past month. I feel like the Packers are a team that possibly would have posed a tougher matchup, and same with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And not to discredit the Saints, because there is still part of me, and I want your thoughts and opinions of this, that still has that like stigma in my head, right? Of like, this could all go so wrong so quickly, right? And I hate feeling that way. I don't want to feel that way. But I was so conditioned, not even last year, but the in the this opening stages of 2020 and 2021, where it just, oh boy, it did not go well, right? Did not go well. Now, we've seen a lot of evidence to suggest that that's not necessarily the case anymore, to where whenever the Bucs play the Saints, they just entirely collapse as a football organization. Again, they swept them last year. They won pretty darn decisively earlier in the year. But there is still some part of me, Billy, and I want your thoughts and opinions on that, that just sits there and goes, yeah, but it's the Saints. And the Saints are just such a tough for this Bucs team to face in the past, that
I
it does get me a little concerned.
I totally respect it, and I get completely where you're coming from with the stigma. Perfect word for it. I get why you feel that way. I'm not letting that wash over me. I feel for the first time, that's what I'm saying, for the first time, because you talked about the early stages of 2020 and 2021, right? We can take it back further than that. I mean, the Jameis Winston era, every time Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the New Orleans Saints, it was a debacle. It was horrendous. So it's a long-standing stigma, to steal your word. I just don't feel it. I feel really confident. It's the first time in a long time where I feel like the Buccaneers should be the favorites and like they're going to come through. The Buccaneers this year, to their credit, they have had their backs to the wall in a couple different moments, and they've put their best foot forward in those situations. And this is that situation. You know what's at stake. if you win versus if you lose. So you need to be at your best, and I would expect the Bucs are fairly healthy. The Saints are not as healthy. I would expect the Buccaneers to be able to put their best foot forward. I'm not that impressed. Part of it is I'm not that impressed with what I've seen from the Saints this year. I think that they have been very meh for most of the season. And the Buccaneers are hot at the right time. They were meh a long time ago. Now they are guns blazing. I don't feel that stigma. I felt that the first time we played the Saints earlier this season. I was like, well, I don't know. But after that game and then seeing what we've seen, like you said, since December, yeah, I feel good. I really do. It's not like forced optimism. It's just a comfort level that I think the Buccaneers are going to show up and show up big.
Yeah, I want to bounce off of something you just said where it's like backs against the wall, right?
Yeah.
And Billy, you could argue that they've had their backs against the wall since the start of December when they were 4-7, right?
Right.
That
Exactly.
that was, it's time to go type of moment where it's now or never, and they won four straight. But the job, and I said this in the Bleacher Report stream I did earlier this week, the job's not done, right? Job's not done. I really hope, and I'm saying this not because I think it's going to happen, but I say this because I really don't want it to happen, is I really hope that the team doesn't have the mindset of, oh, we only got to, like, we can cruise through these next two games, right?
Wow.
They're 8-7. They've won four straight. I hope they don't rest on their laurels here. I hope they don't sit there and say, we got this. When in all reality, you don't got this yet. It's far from done, right?
You said you don't want that to happen. You don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but you're worried about it. Do you feel like that's a probable outcome here? Do you think the
Well,
Buccaneers are
the
going
the reason I say that is because the guys who the guys who are on this team are the same guys where Todd Bowles said literally about halfway through this year, hey, some of these guys are still living off the Super Bowl, right? And that was some complaints that people had. We had talked about it earlier this year, right? And those same guys are still on the team, right? So I wonder if this is a team where some guys on this team tend to maybe get a little bit too comfortable and say like, "Ooh, we've been winning. We're feeling pretty good. We got, and maybe get that confidence confused with arrogance, right? And instead of buckling down, maybe take it a little bit easy, right? I don't think that's going to be the case, but do you understand where I'm coming from? Where it's like, ooh, that was a conversation that was had earlier in the year. Let's hope that conversation doesn't come back up.
Yes, I do get what you're saying. And yeah, that was definitely, like you said, same personnel, right? I just think that
Devin White.
it feels like it feels like the Buccaneers, when those situations came about earlier this year, and that was a topic of discussion, the Buccaneers from then to now feel like a totally different team.
That's true.
Like, I will be so honest, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like started this win streak, right? They beat the Panthers. And granted, the conditions made the game very difficult. I feel as though they probably would have blown out the Panthers had it not have been like a monsoon. But they beat the Panthers, and you were like, okay, yeah, well, kind of everybody beats the Panthers. Then they beat the Falcons, and that was a tougher game because it's a divisional game. You're on the road, and the Falcons at that point, they were right there in the thick of it, and they're still technically right there in the thick of it. And I was like, okay, Baker Mayfield leads a game-winning drive. Yeah, you're feeling good. Going into the Green Bay Packers game, though, my confidence was not as high as it is right now.
That's
I, I
fair.
thought, I thought, wow, the Packers are really going to be a test like that. That's going to be a difficult. We're going up to Lambeau. The Packers defense is not the best by any means, but the solid offense, a solid head coach, good quarterback play coming out of Green Bay. I'm like, that's going to be tough. And it's just, again, to go on a 3-game win streak, the two of them on the road, I was like, that's going to be tough. They destroyed the Packers, So, okay, then we go into Jacksonville, and I was like, again, my confidence was not to the moon or anything like that. I was like, Jacksonville could be tough, could be difficult. The whole Trevor Lawrence situation, I think, was playing into it as well. Like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? For them to win those games and then win them in the fashion they won them, and they were up 30-0 at one point last week. Winning them in the fashion they're winning them is where my confidence is coming from. It's you gotta just, to me, I'm looking at I'm living in the present or the very recent past only. The Buccaneers don't look like the team that blew the lead against the Houston Texans. They just don't look like that team. And I get that it's the same team, it's the same personnel, but people and groups of people grow. And I don't think that they're playing at the level they were playing at or with the mentality they were playing with earlier in the season.
Yeah, no, I do understand where you're coming from. And again, like, I don't think it's gonna happen because again, to the point of you said earlier, like, you know, job's not done. Their backs are still against the wall, and this thing could fall apart. It could. I don't think it will, because like you said, I feel very good based off the Packers and the Jags games. I mean, that's what a great couple of games there. We're going to talk about, one of the leading men from those games here in a little bit. But no, it is. There is plenty of reasons to feel confident in the Bucs right now. You're seeing that in the fan base, which I think is fantastic. And yeah, this does look like a team that's going to be able to go out there and, beat the Saints, hopefully, and be able to get that playoff spot, right? It
And I
does.
think part of it is too, go back to your stigma remark from before, is the Saints are not the Saints of last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
That's true.
The Saints are having a tough go at it. They cannot run the football. They're struggling with Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas is going to be out. Marshawn Lattimore is going to be out. They're not the Saints of yesteryear. They're the Saints of 2023. And the Saints of 2023 have had a very tough time getting traction and getting things going. So that's a part of it too. Like I
Yeah.
don't, to me, I think the Packers are a better team than the Saints. And I watched what the Bucs did to the Packers. So and that was on the road. Yeah, so to me that's weighing heavily, I think, in my optimism.
I would also say Jacksonville's a better team than New Orleans, even with like Trevor Lawrence being banged up and whatnot. I mean, the Bucs. I mean, Bucs just showed up. I mean, point. Simple as that. So we'll see, man. We'll see. A lot of reasons to be confident. Job's not done. We'll see if the Buccaneers can secure that playoff spot here by sweeping the New Orleans Saints, which would feel so good, right? I don't got.
Can we get a quick score prediction before we move on? Treat us
Yeah.
to
What do you think, Billy? I'm gonna say 28-17 Bucks.
28-17. So kind of you think the Bucs are putting up some tutties.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, considering Baker Mayfield, hey.
I'm gonna go I'm gonna go 27-13. Very similar. I think the Bucs are gonna I don't think the game's gonna be particularly close, honestly. I think the Bucs are the better team. Might start like a little meh, but I think by the third quarter the Buccaneers are gonna have this one.
Right on. Well, we'll see what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can do here against the Saints. Should be a lot of fun. But Billy, hey, speaking of the Bucs doing good, right? And a couple of guys I want to talk about. Well, real quick, let's talk about this first before we dive into it,
Okay.
like deeper. Because firstly, I want to talk about these two guys. I want to talk about Rachaad White and Chris Godwin because right now, as it stands, Billy, because we're gonna be talking about another guy, we're gonna be deep diving into. We do it every week, but there's another fellow that I want, or another couple of guys I want to dive into, and that is Rachaad White and Chris Godwin because Billy, they're playing pretty good this year, and you take a look at their stats overall this year, they're getting pretty close to 1,000 yards on the year. And the Bucs have not had 1,000-yard rushers since Doug Martin, I believe. Going or no, did Ronald Jones have 1,000 yards? I don't think he
No,
did.
had 900 and change, remember? And then they got Antonio Brown his incentives instead of giving the ball to Rojo.
Right, and Fournette never had 1,000. So I genuinely think
Fournette got hurt against the Saints when he also had like nine and change, if I'm
I
not mistaken.
don't remember Peyton Barber having 1,000. So I
Certainly not.
genuinely think Doug Martin in like 2015 was the last time the Bucs had a 1,000-yard rusher. Rachaad White right now, Billy, is at 873. He needs 127 more yards. Okay? 127 more yards to be a 1,000-yard rusher. Also, Rachaad White's at 507 receiving yards. That's awesome. You love that, right? Chris Godwin, right now as it stands, is at 892 receiving yards. He needs a grand total of 108 over the next two games to hit 1,000 receiving yards. That would mean that the Bucs would have three 1,000-yard skill position players that you talked about before we started recording here Pretty special, right, Billy? Do you think that they can get the job done?
Yes. I would expect Chris Godwin's been on a little bit of a heater lately. 53
Which
yards,
which
100.
which good, by the way, right?
Yes. And he has kind of, ever since, Mrs. Godwin, he has kind of really been on a little bit of a roll, to his credit and to the Bucs' credit for, doing their best to get him involved. I think Chris Godwin to get 108 yards in 2 games doesn't seem like a daunting task, right? I do believe he should be able to get that, especially if there's any attention paid to getting him that stat. I think that they should be able to get him that stat. One of the only things, and I don't expect this to be an issue. But one of the only things that really could hinder them is if the Bucs clinch the division this week and really take the Panthers lightly next week, treat it like a preseason game, sit guys, things like that. Yeah, if they don't play both games, then that could become a little bit more difficult for them to achieve those statistics. But I don't think Todd Bowles will do that. And I also don't think that, if they do play both games, then there's no way Chris Godwin doesn't get 108. And you talked about Rachaad White being so close. Up until last week, Rachaad White had 100 yards, 84 yards, 102 yards, and then 89 yards. Quite a stretch, averaging over 4 yards per carry in each of those games. Rachaad White was playing fantastic. And then last week, of course, not that good of a stat line. 20 rushes for 39 yards. That's brutal. Did have 6 catches and a touchdown. We could take the positive, but tough statistically, his performance statistically, for Rachaad White last week. But I think they both should get it. And you talked about being special to have 3 guys reach 1,000 yards at the skill positions in what was a retooling year for the Buccaneers to get their cap right, where everybody said the Buccaneers were going to be picking in the top three with 4 wins. 3 guys from the skill positions at 1,000, and I believe I heard if Chris Godwin gets 1,000, he'll be the only the third Buccaneers player ever to have what 3 1,000 yard seasons or 4 1,000 yard seasons. Is that true? I think he's the third Buccaneers player ever to have 4 1,000 yard receiving
Well,
seasons.
I know Mike Evans is one of them.
Vincent Jackson, I think, was another.
Maybe I don't know if Vincent Jackson was around long enough. It's
I heard
possible.
that. I could be. I'm not,
I did do some quick research, by the way. Last time the Bucks did have a 1,000 yard rusher was back in 2015. They went crazy that year. Doug Martin had 1,402 rushing yards, and Charles Sims had 529 rushing yards. So they were running the ball like crazy that year. And yeah, that just goes to show how devoid the Bucks have been of a 1,000 yard rusher the past multiple seasons. It's been 8 years, Billy, since the Bucks have had a 1,000 yard rusher. So I agree with you. I think that if there is a year that this would happen, it would be this year. It seems like these guys are pretty close. I hope they don't do the deal where, it's like, oh, hey, they're only like 50 yards away a piece with after the Saints game and they go, we're going to bench our guys, right? I don't want to see that. Just give the guys the records, and who knows, they may get incentives if they get that, right? They may get a little bit of money in that mix. So I want to see it. I think that it would be a good thing, and I do think they can get the job done. I do.
I mentioned it just because Todd Bowles did do it last year, right? The Falcons game didn't matter for the Buccaneers at the end of the season, so he basically treated it like a preseason game. Gabbert got on the field, and Kyle Trask played at the end. I don't think Bowles will do that this year, though. To his credit, I think he's going to learn from his mistake. That did not work well. The Buccaneers came out super flat against the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs the week after that. And also, look what happened when the Buccaneers had their traditional bye week earlier this year. They went on a losing streak that was the exact opposite, the antithesis of fantastic. So I don't think rest is what's best for a team that is streaking. You want to streak into the playoffs, and the Bucs are. They have momentum. Sitting guys does not keep momentum high. It just stymies it. So I don't expect, even if the game is meaningless, I think the Bucs will probably play a majority, if not all, of their guys for a good portion of that game.
I tend to agree, right? Especially given, the situation last year that great point to make where it's like, yeah, things did not go well last year whenever you benched
Ooh,
your starters.
no.
This does seem like a Bucks team, which is fine, right? Where you want that streaky momentum on your side, right? If you kind of die down that momentum, it could and very poorly. I don't think this is a team where it's just like, yeah, they can take a week off. Not, I think this is a team that benefits from just scrapping every week,
Yeah.
right? And that benefits from just going out there and being gritty every single week. So
Yes, and if I could transition for you right here to our next topic, the guy who is at the head of that, Baker Mayfield. He is in such a rhythm right now. He's in total syncopation with Dave Canales. He's in total syncopation with his skill position players. There is no need to take him out of that sync and sit him. He should be staying in the rhythm that he's in. You don't with quarterbacks, kickers, certain positions get in rhythms and they get hot and you don't really want to mess with it. Baker Mayfield is hot. He's rolling. You don't want to mess with that.
yeah, and I will say this to kind of put a bow on the Chris Godwin Rashad White stuff. Yeah, of all the people, freaking Baker Mayfield, I mean, we expected it, but to have a guy like Baker out there with 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receivers potentially, it's pretty good, man. Pretty good on a resume. I mean, Dave Canales too. That's
Yeah.
really good look for Dave Canales. I mean, I think Rashad White is third in rushing attempts in the league this year, Billy. Third. What?
Rashad White has been everything since Doug Martin Bucs fans have wanted.
Yeah.
He's and earlier in the season, I remember there were a lot of debates where people were talking about Rashad White. He's not that good. He isn't living up to it. And a lot of it had to do with more offensive line play. And I remember like having conversations with people. I'm like, you got to realize there's a lot of times Rashad White gets the ball and he's getting contacted at -1 yards, makes that guy miss, falls forward, and gets 3 yards. Well, in reality, that's a great play. It's only a 3 yard run, doesn't look good. But in reality, that's a great individual play by White. As the season has progressed, the Buccaneers' offensive line has really hunkered down, gotten significantly better. And the play they're getting out of their offensive line has really increased Rashad White's production because now instead of making that guy miss in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage, that guy's 2, 3 yards downfield. Then you make a miss, and that 3 yard run becomes a 5 yard run or a 6 yard run. And you're seeing that from White. When he gets in space and has an opportunity to get moving, he's tough. He's a tough tackle.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that the offensive line has been the biggest part in terms of improvement throughout this year. I mean, again, dude, the offensive line in the first half of the season, not good. Not good. But they've improved. And I don't know if that's been Dave Canales' play calling, probably a little bit of that, probably just them gelling more.
Yeah.
The benching, as much I don't mean to diss the guy, but the benching of Matt Filer for Aaron Stinney seemed to play a pretty big role into that. And
You
they're
also have a rookie at guard. It takes time to kind of get your feet under you at the NFL level, right? He's adjusted to the game. He's significantly improved. And you had Gadecki who's starting at tackle, which is a new spot for him. Worth starting at left tackle, a new spot for him. So you had a lot of kind of, in the beginning, you had a lot of things where you were taking a puzzle and putting pieces together in new spots. So it takes time, and it's hard to be patient sometimes, but then you see the kind of the results of the fact that the Bucs were patient with that group and look at the results of it. Yeah, the offensive line is, like you said, I think probably the most improved position group on the team this year.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems like hopefully it's going to result in two 1,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard rusher, Billy. So that's pretty special. Pretty special. And I think it just goes to show the growth the Bucs have had this year, which is it's fantastic, man. It's fantastic. Hey, but speaking of the offense, speaking of, you mentioned it, how about our guy, Baker? The Baker Brigade is
Uh,
at full send, Billy. I have seen people, I've seen plenty of people say, I'm finally on the train, right? I'm on the bandwagon. National media, local media, other content creators, they're all getting on. And we've been on this brigade. Look, we'll welcome them. Hey, you said it before we started recording. We'll give you the tickets to the train. We're out here handing out tickets. We're not going to judge you. It's free of charge. You can come on the train. We're fine. The brigade's taken off, Billy.
yeah, Baker Mayfield has been, especially down the stretch here, he's been everything you could have wanted, right? I know that a lot of people, I think we were in the minority just maybe a month ago in terms of being like pro Baker Mayfield as the future, or at least just floating that idea out there. Is he potentially the future? And now, like you said, he's the Buccaneers are on NFL Network. They're on ESPN. They are. in a totally different stratosphere of people's minds now, and Baker Mayfield is at the forefront of that. And his play has been anything and everything you could have asked for out of a guy who is, new to a team, first year with a team, making no money on a 1 year contract with a first time offensive coordinator, with a, we'll just say an embattled head coach who has had some difficulties at times. Baker Mayfield down the stretch has just been, yeah, everything you could have wanted. But go ahead, you go off. Let him
Well,
have it.
well, real quick before I want to say hi to some people in the chat. We got
Okay.
Sweeney, Carlos, Mira's in here, Giovanni, James, Willie Beeman in here. Got Mikey in here as well. A couple of moderators. Nathaniel is in here. Gotta love the quarterback play. Says blessed. I completely
Yes.
agree. Completely agree. Anthony said it's 45 coming back. We talk about that at the end. Um, have some other people talking about the Saints. We have Richard, AB. We got Willis in here. Got a lot of different people in here. Ernest is in here. What's up, Ernest? Hope you are doing good. Richard is in here. A lot of people talking about the Cowboys. We can talk about the Cowboys in a week or two, um, um, as a possibility. Robert Jackson is in here. Chad is in here. Um, who else is in here? We got a lot of different. Abel is in here. Hello, Abel. Ed is in here. Hello, everybody. But hey, back to Baker Mayfield.
Let him have
Billy,
Let him have it.
look, listen. The brigade, look, as captains of the brigade, we're going strong. It's a fantastic time. This is just a guy that you want to root for, right? And I hear everybody say, like, hey, I like Baker Mayfield. Well, then let's all get on board, you know? Let's just all get on. If we all like the guy, then get on board. And two 1,000-yard receivers, potentially a 1,000-yard rusher. I know part of that is Dave Canales in there as well, but I mean, Baker, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He's, I think, tied for 6th right now in passing touchdowns in the league. Special kind of season for Baker Mayfield. I think he is going to be the guy next year for the Bucs. I think he's earned that. I think he should be the guy for the next couple of years for the Bucs possibly as well. I think he's earned that. And it's been such a fun ride so far this year, right? It really
Yeah.
really has been.
Yes, I think, like you said, has he earned that? Absolutely. I think Baker Mayfield winds up coming away with like a 3 year contract, maybe a 4 year contract this offseason from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with pretty good but not amazing money. And he has earned every bit of that because the Buccaneers don't get quarterback play like this
No.
outside of 3 years with Tom Brady, really only 2 years with Tom Brady. And it's beautiful to see. I mean, you talked about 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Well, that's better than a 3-to-1 ratio. That's incredible. I mean, that level of production is fantastic. Over the last 2 games, he's got 78.6 and then 74.3% completion percentage. That's fantastic. And he, if we project it out a little bit, he very well could and probably should end up with 4,000 yards passing on the
30
season.
touchdowns possibly.
I mean, he could have, it depends. Yardage is always tough to predict. The Bucs might run it a bunch. They could get a big lead and not throw. But it wouldn't be out of the question for him to get to 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, like you're
That's
saying.
which is it.
Just,
I mean, come on. Okay,
yeah,
for
right.
people who say, look, okay, just to be frank here, for people who say, oh, I don't know, it's fine. That's your opinion. I'm not gonna say you're dumb or whatever, but I disagree. Dog, 30 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. Come on. Any quarterback giving you that, you're feeling good.
Of course. In all likelihood, he's going to end up with 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and like 10 picks.
Yeah, I'm
It's just
feeling
fantastic.
good. I'm
Take that.
feeling good about a year like that. That's a
I mean, his
good
rating
year.
is 96. And in recent weeks, it has been tremendous. A 158.3, a 116.7, even before that at the Falcons, an 86, like against a solid underrated defense in Atlanta. Like Baker Mayfield on the field and off the field has been everything the Bucs. He's exceeded any expectation, right? He's been the guy on the field when you need him to be the guy. He's giving you opportunities or taking advantage of opportunities that the team has given him. Take the team down the field, tie games or win games at the end with a drive late. He's also been the guy off the field when you talk about how his teammates have spoken of him or his coaches have spoken of him, right? He is beloved in the locker room. People respect him.
Yeah.
That is so important to have. And the Buccaneers have that. So, of course, yes, Baker Mayfield has, like you said, I think you put it perfectly, he's earned it. And he has earned it the hard way because nobody gave the Bucs any credit. He came in with zero respect put on his name, and the Bucs as a team put on their name this season. I talked about it just, I referenced it briefly before. I mean, everybody thought the Buccaneers were drafting Caleb Williams with the first, second, or maybe third overall pick, maybe Drake May in this draft coming up. The Bucs were supposed to be fourth in the NFC South with 2 wins or 3 wins. And Baker Mayfield has the Buccaneers playing meaningful games in January, meaningful games in December. That is so far from what the expectation was in the best possible way. You have to put respect on what he has done and what the team has done, of course, as a whole, but him leading the charge, of course, as the quarterback.
Before we talk about some other stuff, with Baker, I want to real quick, as you mentioned it before we started, was the mutual interest. And I had talked about this on the channel, but we haven't gotten your thoughts and opinions on it yet, Billy, between Baker and the Bucs, as well as the quote that he had following the Jags game, where he said, "I'd love to be here." For me, this is stuff that you should all that should have been expected, right? But what are your thoughts and opinions on it?
Yeah, I agree. I think teams, I think leaks come out almost intentionally at times to gauge, responses to them a lot of the time. And when leaks come out like this, it's probably because this is going to happen, and there's no reason for it not to happen. There's no reason to fight it happening, right? Baker Mayfield, he's played one of the best seasons any Bucs quarterback has ever played. And he's done it. They set themselves back behind the eight ball significantly with a terrible midseason stretch. And he's still finishing to finish as strong as he's finishing. Like, of course, the Bucs are going to be interested in keeping him. And yeah, I think those leaks are, they're there for a reason and to gauge, general response to them. Like I said, I think Baker Mayfield's going to earn himself a 3, maybe 4 year extension or contract. I guess it won't be an extension technically. Contract this offseason, and it'll be deserved because Baker Mayfield has done something we don't normally see Buccaneers quarterbacks do. And what more could you ask for than playing competitive games after Christmas? The Bucs are playing meaningful games after Christmas. That's everything in the NFL season, right? You want your team to be in it this late in the hunt. And don't tell me it's just because the Buccaneers are in the NFC South, because the Buccaneers could easily be contending for a wild card spot as well with the record that they have. So Baker Mayfield has earned it. Of course, the Bucs are going to be interested in bringing him back. Does not surprise me in the slightest. When you hear the way Bowles and Light have talked about him and his teammates, it's in all. I would be surprised that I would say at this point, I'd be surprised if it didn't happen.
Yeah, and one thing I want to talk about, the chat's been talking about it, the national recognition of Baker here. Billy, I'm gonna give you something interesting. So every week, Nick Shook from NFL.com does quarterback rankings, and this week is very interesting because Baker Mayfield moved up from number 10 to number 8, and the two guys he moved above in these quarterback rankings was Brock Purdy, who's coming in at number 9, and Patrick Mahomes, who is coming in at number 10. What are your thoughts and opinions on those rankings? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? I've got it pulled up here on the screen. Baker, number 8, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,598 passing yards. And then you have Brock Purdy just below him with 29 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 4,050 passing yards, and then Patrick Mahomes, 3,938 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and 4 fumbles in there as well. Brock Purdy's at 6, Baker is at 8. But I was pretty blown away when I saw those rankings. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? What are your thoughts and opinions about that?
Yeah, I'm not going to overreact to Baker Mayfield playing really well right now and Patrick Mahomes playing really poorly. I think if the roles were reversed, they would be very different. Baker Mayfield has a slew of weapons comparable to what Patrick Mahomes is dealing with. And I also just think the Chiefs, I think they're overstressed and they're in quite a funk. So obviously, yeah, no.
Important to
Baker
say,
Mayfield is not above Mahomes.
important to say real quick. It is rankings for this year.
And I even in this year, even if you had to go right now and take, Patrick Mahomes for the rest of the season or Baker Mayfield for the rest of the season on Team X, no matter how hot Baker Mayfield is, you're going to take Mahomes. I will say with Brock Purdy, I go so back and forth on Brock Purdy. I honestly have no idea if Brock Purdy is good or not. I honestly just don't know. But I would take Baker Mayfield over Brock Purdy for sure. I don't. Brock Purdy is a little bit too up and down. I think he has a lot less. I like some of what Brock Purdy does because he kind of plays really loose in a good way. He's very like I'm gonna say creative at times, but he's benefited heavily by the system and the talent around him as well. I just think Baker Mayfield has a lot more tangibles than Brock Purdy. All right, Baker Mayfield has significantly more arm strength than Purdy does, and I think that when you're up against a good team like the Ravens are a really quality opponent, I think Brock Purdy, the lack of tangibles and the reason he wasn't a high draft pick all show up in situations like that. Lack of arm strength. You don't need a cannon of an arm to be successful, but it helps to be able to have that to fall back on, right? And I just think, Brock Purdy doesn't have that. He never will. It's not to say it can't be successful. Obviously, he's been very successful thus far in his career. I just don't see him as a guy. To me, I'd much rather have Baker Mayfield. The Mahomes one, yes, Mahomes is in a funk and Baker's in a groove, but that's a whole nother discussion. I think before the season or maybe in the early portion of the season, I said on any given Sunday, Baker Mayfield was somewhere between the 11th and 17th best quarterback in the league. I think he's proven he's probably between 10 and 15 on any given Sunday. And doesn't sound like it, but that's a pretty big improvement. And yeah, I think I would leave him there. Could he be top 10? Sure, but he is fringe at best. I wouldn't even drop him inside. He'd be at 10 in my mind.
Patrick Mahomes one is wild to me, right? Like, hey, I'm all for it. I mean, why not, right? But like in this year, Patrick Mahomes has slipped up a little bit. But
Yes.
I would still, like you said, rest of the year, I'd still probably take Patrick Mahomes. The Brock Purdy one is so interesting to me. I do wonder how Baker Mayfield would look in a San Francisco 49ers offense,
Good
right?
point.
I mean, would he be putting up just as good, if not better, numbers than Brock Purdy? You can
I
make an argument that the answer would be
yeah,
yes.
I think it would look pretty good.
So that is one that I definitely go back and forth on as well. But this kind of goes to show the fact that this is even a discussion in the first place is awesome. I mean, I think that that's just a fun time, right?
Yes.
Like I want to like you take a look at the list again. I'm gonna pull it back up on the screen. The only guys above Baker Mayfield at this point, which is this is just a where we're at in the world. Jared Goff is number 7. Jalen Hurts is number 6. Matthew Stafford's number 5. Now, I wouldn't necessarily, based on how things have been this year, I don't know if Stafford would be up at 5, but they decided to put him up there. Josh Allen's at number 4. Dak Prescott at number 3. Lamar at number 2, and Tua T at number 1. The fact that those are the only guys above Baker Mayfield at this point is still wild. Like, also Joe Flacco's at number 12 in this ranking. That's just also wild in of itself. He actually is playing tonight. That should be a very fun game. But the fact that Baker is getting this much national recognition, that he is legit, in some national media members' minds, legitimately getting ranked above Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes with only 2 weeks left on the year in a quarterback rankings list for this season is wild, and just goes to show the growth that
Yes.
the Bucs have had this year to what a lot of people's expectations were.
Yes. And I think this is a really like small, minute thing, but it kind of feeds into your point. Whenever you have like a Sunday night or a Monday night game, right? And we've talked about this before, but you'll know where I'm going. When you have those games in the pregame, when they cut to commercial, they put up a graphic of each team's best player. Usually they're holding the football, they're standing there in some goofy pose, right? And for pretty much every team in the league, it's their quarterback. Usually they stand the quarterback there and he's holding the ball. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or teams like the New York Jets, for years and years and years, it's been not a quarterback, right? For the Bucs, it's Gerald McCoy or it's Mike Evans. And that's cool because Gerald McCoy, great Buccaneer. Mike Evans, maybe one of the greatest Buccaneers. Really cool.
You could argue the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
I would love to have that debate with you at any time. You let me know. That's really cool, right? It's nice to see those guys get that recognition. But Baker Mayfield represents a face you can put on that graphic. And that's important. It may not seem important, but it is because it shows you the credibility and cachet he has that's associated with him. That if the Buccaneers were to play the Ravens, let's just say, it's not going to be Mike Evans and Lamar Jackson. Baker Mayfield will be on that graphic, right? Whereas if the Jets were to play the Ravens, it's Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner. And that to me is the difference with what Baker Mayfield has done. Obviously, in the past few years, yes, Tom Brady, of course, he's going to be on the graphic. But prior to that, it's not a quarterback, right? It's just not. And the fact that Baker Mayfield has that credibility for his face to be on that graphic, it's a small thing, but it matters because it just speaks to a larger entity of what he represents the Buccaneers having, something that they just don't normally have, and Bucs fans just aren't accustomed to.
Yeah, I agree. So like, hey, congrats to Baker for being ranked number 8, man. Like
Yeah.
you said, I think right now it gives the Bucs a um it gives the Bucs just more national attention in a good way and just showcases his overall ability, as a leader on this team, a marketable guy on this team. Baker's the guy who's going to sell tickets. Baker's going to be a guy that national media is going to say, hey, let's pay attention to this guy, right? I think that's a good thing. I do,
He,
ultimately.
I think Tampa Bay becomes much more of a talking point because of Baker Mayfield being on their roster. And that's important. I think things like that matter in contract negotiations. And, like the fact that Baker Mayfield on the field keeps the team relevant because the games are close and he
Marketability.
marketability matters, right? 100%. And Baker Mayfield gives the team much more marketability, And we were talking about the mutual interest thing before, and I pulled up this quote because I remember reading it, but I didn't want to misquote him. But Baker Mayfield was quoted, this was a day ago. Baker Mayfield was talking about picking the Buccaneers in free agency. He said, obviously, free agency allowed me to pick the organizational stability and knowing what it is here, right? Referencing the fact that he picked Tampa Bay because he felt like it was a stable organization and one that he could set down roots in. So the fact that when you talk about that mutual interest, it's got to be gratifying, right? This is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember where the team was not that long ago. To hear somebody come in and talk about the fact that the Bucs represent organizational stability and a situation you want to put roots down in, doesn't that feel good? Like, isn't that what you like? That's a good culture. That's a healthy work environment. That's what you want. To me, that's a quote that speaks to the positivity of where the team is going and that the fact that the team is trending very much upward.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So Baker, hey, coming in number 8, we'll see where he lands, man. Maybe he'll finish the year top 5. I don't know. I don't know, Billy. Be a little interesting if you ask me. We'll see though. But Baker at number 8, above Patrick Mahomes, above Brock Purdy, pretty interesting stuff. Hey, we're gonna talk about Baker one more time, everybody. I know people are probably a little sick of the Baker Mayfield discussion, but Billy, listen, Baker Mayfield, I think, has had a pretty good year. Okay. In fact, some people have said, and this is going back to that article regarding the rankings, quarterback rankings, is that he's having a career renaissance, according to some people. Okay. That has led some people the past couple of weeks to suggest the idea that Baker Mayfield could possibly be up there for comeback player of the year, right? That is a distinct possibility. I want your initial thoughts and opinions on that idea based on where Baker Mayfield is this year versus where he was last year, and if he does have a chance of winning an award like that. What do you think?
I think if this were any other year, I think Baker Mayfield would probably be a favorite, heavily in contention for the award, just because of the cachet that his name carries. People know who he is. He's going to be on the tips of the tongues of the people who are going to put that decision forward. But I feel like it's a foregone conclusion. The award, and deservedly so, has to go to Damar Hamlin. I don't think that Baker Mayfield really has a chance just because Damar Hamlin has done something that nobody's really gonna ever, hopefully, ever touch. It's a once in a lifetime moment, and I think the NFL, that's where it's gonna go. In terms of on the field play, yeah, I think Baker Mayfield is definitely deserving of the award. If they gave it to him, it would be, an earned accomplishment, but I just think he doesn't really have that much of a shot because of the story of Damar Hamlin.
I do agree with you on that. I think that just given, I think given what it is, and look, even last year, Geno Smith won Comeback Player of the Year, and he had a career renaissance, much like Baker Mayfield. He had 4,282 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. It is, I don't know. Like I heard people say that at the beginning of the year, right? For Damar Hamlin to win Comeback Player of the Year. I haven't heard it as much lately, and like you said, I don't know if it's because it is a foregone conclusion essentially in a lot of people's minds. I don't know if Damar Hamlin's going to be on the voting. I mean, I don't even know if they're going to have voting for it, right? I don't know how the NFL wants to treat that award this year. It's going to be interesting. And I do see some people saying in the chat like, "Hey, he only played 5 snaps this year and stuff like that." It is literally a comeback. Like it is literally a
Yeah.
comeback for Damar Hamlin. Coming back from an incredibly scary, dangerous situation for him, right? And I don't want to take away from that at all, which is why, even though we haven't heard from it, and I do understand where people are coming from regarding that, I still feel like it's probably going to be Damar Hamlin. But if it was any other year, I would say
Yeah.
why not Baker, right?
Yeah.
I I,
Absolutely.
I think that's a fair thing to say because you look at the stats. This has been, and just to dive deeper into that, Billy, like this has been a career renaissance for Baker. Like this was Baker's last chance,
Yes.
and I think everybody would admit that to say, "Hey, man, you're 28 years old." Former number 1 overall pick. You got booted out of Cleveland for Deshaun Watson. It's not going great for Cleveland. You went to the Carolina Panthers. You didn't even last a full season there. You went to the LA Rams for a month. You did some good things there, but then what happens now is kind of the question. Kind of talk about that for a second, Billy. Just kind of his comeback and his from where he was a calendar year ago to where he is now.
Yeah, well, Baker Mayfield, if this season doesn't happen and it doesn't go as well as it's going, or even just if Kyle Trask beats him out in the preseason, Baker Mayfield's career follows the trajectory of Mitchell Trubisky, of Jameis Winston or Sam Darnold, a high draft pick, high round draft pick that ultimately fizzles and becomes a backup. And I think Baker Mayfield he was dangerously close to that reality. I don't think there were a lot of teams that were going to give him a legitimate opportunity to play this year until the Bucs stepped up. And we've talked about it many times, he has seized that opportunity. And yeah, like you said, any other year, Baker Mayfield is absolutely deserving of this award because he did turn around his entire career. Because now I don't think it's far-fetched. I know the Bucs, we're talking about the Bucs, just as if it's a foregone conclusion. I think there will be other teams that show at least relative interest in Baker this offseason. I don't think that the Buccaneers are going to be standing at the front of the line by themselves with their hands raised like pick us, pick us, pick us. I think there will be other teams who maybe would want to look at Baker, at least consider it and talk about how much he's potentially going to make. It'll at least be an option for them. And that's something that I don't think was the case last offseason. So yes, it's a complete career turnaround for Baker for sure.
One thing I want to compare it to is a guy who had a different path, right? But he won this award the year he came in. That was Ryan Tannehill. He had to jump in as the starter in 2019. I think it was after Mariota got hurt, something along those lines. He went 7-3. Then he won 11 games the next year. Then he won 12 in 2021, posting up pretty decent numbers. This is a good comparison because Tannehill he spent first 6 years in Miami, was dumped after the 2018 season, was a backup in 2019, had to sub in due to injury, and he ended up being a starter for the next 4+ years. Let's see, essentially 3 more years following that year he came in. You could see a similar thing with Baker, and it
Yeah.
would not surprise me. Would you agree with that, Billy?
Good comparison too. Tannehill, first round pick, had, moderate success in Miami. It's not as though he was terrible at his time in Miami, same as Baker was not terrible in Cleveland by any means. So it's a very good comparison for the viewers who are potentially been around long enough to remember we a couple streams ago called Baker Mayfield a cool Ryan Tannehill. That was a comparison that was made earlier in the episode log. So yeah, I think it's a fair comparison for sure.
And for people who are gonna be like, Ryan Tannehill, ew. If you get a quarterback that's giving me 33 touchdowns, 7 picks,
Yeah.
I'm having a great time. A guy who's given me 22 touchdowns and 6 picks in 2019, I'm having a great time. I mean, 2021 didn't go great. 21 touchdowns, 14 picks, still a 12-5 record, right? Still a 12-5 record. But look, man, I don't need much in life. I don't. You just throw some touchdowns, don't throw a lot of picks, and I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And that's what we've been seeing from Baker this year. Again, would have warranted a comeback player of the year award, but given the circumstances, I don't think he's going to grab it, and it makes sense. As much as people may be upset about that, which I'm not upset with it. I think DeMar Hamlin does deserve the award. Yeah. As much as people, root for Baker, and that's fantastic. Hey, Baker Brigade. But and he has had a fantastic year. I just don't think comeback player of the year is in the cards this year, but that doesn't take away from Baker having the comeback that he has been having. For sure. For sure.
100%.
But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, just wanted to highlight that, wanted to talk about Baker and the comeback that he's had. Look, people talk about Geno Smith, but you even go back to Ryan Tannehill, he had a great comeback. I thought that was a fantastic thing to see. Jared Goff's another guy, which, by the way, now he's got the Lions winning the NFC North, and that's a very modern comparison too. People are not questioning Jared Goff anymore, right? They're really not. A lot of people aren't really questioning Geno Smith that much anymore, per se. Even a guy like Dak, who a lot of people were kind of questioning him a couple years ago. He's kind of come in and more so solidified his spot. And you just see that around the league where it's just guys go out there. It's kind of a do it now or you're done type moment, and they go out there and they make some plays and they revive their careers. And Baker's been right up there with those guys.
Yeah, I think the Geno Smith, Jared Goff comparisons are very, very valid. I think that's the career arc or the career trajectory and arc that he's following. It's very similar. People forget Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl, before he got to Detroit. He might have been the weak link of that team, but he was the starting quarterback of a team that went to a Super Bowl. Geno Smith obviously had no success in New York. Baker somewhere in the middle, right? Took the Browns to the playoffs, won a playoff game, ultimately lost to the Chiefs in Arrowhead. But he did have success, kind of got a raw deal. You're not entitled to anything in the NFL or just in life. So, sometimes the world isn't fair. But he did kind of get a raw deal. And on his second opportunity, his second legitimate, fair, total, clean the slate, wipe the clear opportunity, he's made the most of it.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to see, man. It really has been. So, career renaissance for Baker Mayfield. We love it. We love it here. Well, Billy, what else you want to talk about, man?
Well, I think we got it. We can't go without talking about Devin White.
What a wild time for Devin White. I mean, oh my goodness. And we'll end the stream with this, but you know what, Billy? I'm gonna be honest. I came on here. We both did. And we said Devin White is not going to play another snap for the Bucs, right? He's cooked. He's cooked. And then he came out and he proved us wrong. He sure did. My goodness, that was quite a game. Is he back? Is the question, Billy? Is Devin White back? He had a sack and a half. He had a not very fair penalty in my opinion on roughing the quarterback. I thought that was a ridiculous penalty.
Yeah.
He had an interception, almost had another interception. I mean, what happened here, man?
Well, if the question is Devin White back, then my answer is no.
Well, okay, let me rephrase that because is he back with the Bucs in terms of is he going to re-sign? I still think the answer is no, and some people may disagree with that. But to clarify, is good Devin White finally going to make an appearance?
So
That Devin White that we saw in 2020
sure.
in the playoffs, that Devin White that we've seen play great in the past. That is what I am talking about. Not necessarily referring a re-signing, more so referring to his overall play.
Sure. I will say no still.
Oh, okay.
But he did play very well. Like you said, half sack and an interception. Um, yeah, no, Devin White played really well. It was very impressive. It was nice to see. Um, it's a good story. I think the buried gem of a story that nobody wants, like the buried seed of a story that nobody wants to talk about here is Todd Bowles. That's what I come away from the Devin White story with. Todd Bowles is a very just the disapproval rate. Todd Bowles' disapproval rating, if he were a politician, is through the roof. There is nobody who's walking around with a "We Love Todd Bowles" t-shirt. But Todd Bowles got to get credit for this. He benched a player who was not performing. And we're talking about a player. This is not just a guy. He benched a player, a star player who was underperforming. That player then came back after the benching and performed at a high level. That's coaching. And it's nice to see. Frankly, it's kind of shocking, but that doesn't take away from how impressive it is. That is a big credit to Todd Bowles. I think he's had a couple of really nice bright spots since he's been the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach, and this, in my mind, will live on as probably the brightest.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I would say like the stretch that he's on, right, has made me question where the heck has this Todd Bowles been?
Yeah.
Right, the 4-game win streak, the saying, "Hey, Devin, we were gonna bench you for KJ Britt," and then Devin kind of pulling a little bit of what's going on here, guys, and then Todd said, "I'm gonna show you what's going on.
Yep.
You ain't playing. That's what's going on." And then to say, and look, we don't know what happened after that. Maybe Devin White and Todd had a pretty frank conversation where Todd maybe said, look, this is just me putting words out here, okay? Don't take this as a report or anything. I don't have sources on any of this.
It's hypothetical.
Hypothetical. Let's just say hypothetically, Todd sat Devin down and said, "How do you want to do this?" A la Bruce Arians and Leonard Fournette. And Todd said, "Bro, we'll bench you the whole year. We like KJ Britt. KJ Britt's playing pretty good. How do you want to do this? Do you want another chance to go out there and showcase what you're going to, to try and rebound? Or do you not want to play the rest of the year because of your foot injury? How do you want to do this?" And, Devin said, maybe hypothetically, Devin said, no, I want to go out there. Let's play. He went out there and he crushed it. Now, I see the chat going, and the chat's saying, hey, Devin's basically auditioning for another team at this point. I still think that's the case. I don't
100%.
think Devin White is going to convince the Bucs to give him $20 million per year with 2 games left to play based on how the rest of this year has been. And that isn't to say, look, cool for Devin White for putting up some good numbers, right? That's great. Happy for the guy. Maybe he'll earn himself some money from another team. I still think the bridge has been burned with the Bucs, so to speak, unless Devin White's contract demands go down. I just think that that ship has sailed, so to speak. But I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Devin came back in this situation, which, talk about backs against the wall. Devin's back was against the wall, right?
Yes.
And he went out there and he played out of his mind. And I'm going to give him credit for that. That's great, right? And that's the Devin White that everybody's been wanting to see, Billy. Has been wanting to see. Where has this Devin White been all year? And some people are going to say, well, the foot injury, he's been banged up all year. Folks, people are banged up the entire year. It just
Chris
happens.
Godwin,
It's
Chris
football
Godwin, and Peter Vea are on the injury report every single week.
every single week. Gosh,
Every,
like the corners are on the injury report every single week.
every,
Baker's
every.
been banged up this year. Just everybody. Look, it's the NFL. Guys are going to be hurt, and guys probably all have foot injuries and whatever else is going on. It's not, it's just tough, man. It's a tough sport. Guys are going to get hurt, but you play through the injuries, and that shouldn't be the ultimate reason, right?
Yeah, this is a topic we get on a good deal. So I feel like you and if we have people who tune in consistently know how I feel on it. It's not that Devin White struggled this year because yeah, people get hurt and they struggle. That's fine. Even if we took it back to his first interception of the season, because you just talked about his second this past week, but his first interception of the season against the Eagles, he couldn't run. Remember, he just walked out of bounds. He got the ball and he couldn't run because of his groin, right? I respect that people play through injuries and it's going to hamper their production. With Devin White, my biggest issue has always been effort. Okay. You can always control your effort. You don't have to make every play, but, can you be trying to make every play? Is that too much to ask? That to me, and especially when effort is not something that was an issue for Devin White in the past and has now become an issue in the present, that was always my issue. He's an incredibly talented guy. I do think the bridge is burned, and I wish him nothing but the best. I do think he'll get paid by someone else. But to me, it's just an effort thing. That's what's always been unsettling to me about Devin White. And now after the benching, you see him play with effort, and look at the results. Devin White was flying around the field, blitzing the quarterback, making plays. He looked tremendous. He played with effort. It's not.
I do wonder if that's going to be a wake up call for Devin White, because I don't think Devin White's ever had a situation in his football career where a coach has said, nah, man, you ain't playing. You know, he was a number 5 overall pick. He's been a starter every single game, every single year for the Bucs when he's been healthy. Devin White's never been benched before in his life, as far as I know. Maybe he had some, at least in his LSU, he was a star. In high school, he was a star. And I don't know if Devin White has ever had a humbling situation like this before.
We
Right.
talked about this when we were talking about on the other stream where we were talking about like how he handled the original situation and how poorly he handled it. And the only justification I can make for it was you're talking about a guy who has never been told you're not good enough.
Yeah, and look, Devin White's still a young, yeah, and he's still a
Yes.
young guy. He's still only 25 years old, right? So again, for a young man to his entire life to be the guy, right? To have this year be such a tumultuous year, a year where a lot of things have been just, going after it for him. And then for it to really boil over and peak with that, I do wonder if that is something that is like, oh, wait a minute kind of moment, right? A realization moment, a come to Jesus moment, so to speak, where it's like, oh, I could get benched kind of moment. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, and I would hope, best case scenario, that you're right, and exactly the same thing happened with Leonard Fournette. Like I think you made it. That was an awesome comparison when Bruce sat down Leonard and said, "Look, if you want to pout, I'll gladly cut you. You can pout, or you could maybe think about this big picture. It's probably not a good look if you sit and pout." And I think Todd Bowles, being the protege, you're talking about a mentor-mentee relationship between those two guys, saw Bruce do that, saw the success it had, maybe called Bruce up, went and spoke to him. What do you think? Should I approach this the same way? Could have definitely sat down Devin White and said, look, whatever happens this year, it doesn't even, doesn't matter necessarily beyond the scope of you're going to be a free agent and nobody's going to want this Devin White. They're going to want the old Devin White. So can you bring that guy back for 3 games?
Yeah, and like even to say like, dude, like stop focusing on the off season, stop
Right.
focusing on this contract. We have 3 games left to play. If you
Right.
want some money and you want to make a statement, go out and make that statement.
100%. And it's almost like if you're not going to do it for your team or do it for me, then do it for yourself. Like
Yeah.
you're fighting for money in your bank account. So the heck with everything else. If you can't be motivated to do it for Levante David, Mike Evans, and all the guys around you, then go ahead and do it for you. Because the only thing that, you know, might come out of this year for Devin White, assuming the Buccaneers don't go on a crazy run and win the Super Bowl, is a bigger contract if he plays well. So go do it for you.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. I agree 100%. So we'll see. I mean, hey, Devin White, 2 games left to go, man. Maybe he'll make himself some money. Maybe he's been humbled. I don't know, Billy. I don't know. It's interesting, though. Wait, Billy, we've been going for an hour, man. This is a good one. How do you feel about this? It's good?
Feel fantastic. How
Chat,
do you
a very healthy chat today. A lot of it's been Baker debate, but, that's what we live for.
I see in the chat Robert Jackson. That's a great point. Robert Jackson, ever since JPP left, he has been slacking, referencing Devin White. I think that's a fantastic point because JPP was that guy. He was
JPP's
a
out there. JPP's a free agent right now.
veteran leader in the room who could get people to be focused and motivated. And yes, I don't think in terms of like spiritually and emotionally, the Buccaneers have replaced JPP since he left. 100%. That's an astute observation.
I 1,000. They should just bring him back as a coach. Why not? You know, why not? That'd be fun. I mean, they have missed. I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago where I was like, man, they really, JPP's out there. Why not just bring him? Like, bro, he was making like $1.2 million earlier this year when he was with the Dolphins, I think, or the Saints or wherever he was. He spent time with both those teams. Bucs could afford that, even to just have him be a voice in the locker room, right?
Yeah.
A guy to break down the huddle, on the defense. A guy who will be patrolling the sidelines going, Devin, what are you doing? Hey, Shaq, let's rock and roll, bro. That was a great relationship between those two, by the way. Shaq and JPP. Great relationship. Hey, Anthony Nelson, pick it up a little bit. Hey, Kalijah Cansey, don't know who you are, but start playing better. Hey, Yaya Diaby, cool name. You're actually pretty good. Okay, keep on playing good. Like,
You just need a veteran that guys respect to act as almost a coach in that way. Much like it's a different situation, but much like Ryan Jensen. Ryan Jensen is around the team. He's not playing at all, but he's on the field or on the sideline, gym shorts, ball cap, t-shirt, talking to people. That presence, a presence of someone that, people as a peer who you respect and slightly may look up to, is very important for young players.
I agree 100%. So yeah, no, like why not? Like like is JPP like, dude? Even if he's just on the practice squad, sign him to the practice squad because I know there was like the talk of like, hey, he wants to be a contending team. Well, the Bucs are probably gonna make the playoffs. Just like I wonder if that's something that they like think about where it's like, man, our defense, like, look, you have Levante, you have Antoine Winfield Jr., you have Shaq, but all of those guys, it's been admitted this year that all of those guys are more so guys where it's like, yeah, they're pretty quiet, but when they speak up, you listen. Have that guy that's the foil.
Yes.
Have that guy who's going to say, hey, what are we doing here? Let's rock and roll. Logan Hall, Will Golson, what are y'all doing? Let's get going. Hey, Vita Vea, you're cool. I like you. Let's keep on going. Greg Gaines, still don't know who you are, but play better. And just getting that leader in there. Just that vocal leader. That's what I would say. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I think it's crucial. Most of the Bucks leaders are more lead by example players than lead vocally. Even, you mentioned David, Winfield, Vita Vea. I could throw in Mike Evans. I could throw in Chris Godwin. Those are not guys who are openly vocal. They're more follow me because I'm a professional
Yeah,
and I'm going to
Baker.
get my job done right. Baker Mayfield's kind of the Pied Piper, but he's offensive. He's an offensive guy. So you don't have a guy on the defensive side who's kind of that instigator, really. It should be Devin White. On paper, that's who it's supposed to be. That's who it's penciled in as. But no.
That and
So
that,
you
that that just hasn't gone well this year.
no, not at all. You need that guy on defense who holds guys accountable. That's really what it is. You need somebody on defense who's going to hold guys accountable openly and be verbal about it. There's a really great story. I don't want to go off on a tangent, so I'll be super brief. There's a really great story about the Buccaneers Super Bowl run when they were losing to the Falcons after the bye week, when they were in the middle of their win streak. They were losing to the Falcons, And at halftime, JPP stood up and called everyone out. And Tom Brady went on to talk about that and credit JPP for the reason the Buccaneers went on their run and went through the playoffs and got to the Super Bowl and everything. Because at halftime, he basically called everyone out by name and questioned them all. Like, do you want this? And put everybody feet to the fire, held them accountable. Sometimes you just need guys who are willing to be that guy. And not everybody is. There's different types of leadership. And I just don't think that guy is hard to come by. And JPP was one of those guys.
I agree. I agree, man. Just real quick, looking in the chat, Bat says, I love the live shows, James. Start an official podcast. This is the official podcast. This is. It's a great time. We have a great time. Robert says this is the best cast to date. Thank you, Robert. Greatly appreciate that. Break says, you have a good radio voice, James. Thank you, Breaks. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been good stream, Billy. Good stream. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Appreciate the best staff comment
Yeah.
or best group comment. I forgot the quote already, but I appreciate
the best cast.
Cast. Yes, I appreciate
It's the best live stream we've had. Well,
So,
I think, Billy, we've been going for about an hour now. Well, actually, we've been going for over an hour. And I think it's time to end off this stream. So before we end it off, also, actually, you know what? Before we end it off, we're introducing something new. Okay, I don't know where I don't know if anybody has seen this, but there's a little thing on ProFootballReference.com, and we're gonna do it together, folks.
tell us about it, James.
It is the Immaculate Grid.
And what is that, James?
The Immaculate Grid is a wonderful, wonderful thing. If I can get Steam to close. There we go. The Immaculate Grid is a wonderful, wonderful thing, Billy, where it's a grid and you have to guess players who fit into the certain criteria. You ever do like a, what do they call it at school? Punnett squares? Is that what they call them?
Punnett squares. Wow.
You remember that?
I do.
You remember Punnett squares? It's like Punnett squares, essentially. It's Punnett squares. Yes, yes, my Steam was updating. But we're gonna do this. So you ready, Billy? And chat's gonna do it with us because this is fun. This is fun. So Billy, we're gonna end off most live streams like this moving forward. So
Our new tradition.
So chat, if you want to help us, by all means, help us out.
Fire away.
We're gonna start off with this one, Billy. It is the New York Giants and the Arizona Cardinals.
New York Giants and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. Now the first name that comes to mind is Kurt Warner.
Yeah, are we going for most obscure by default?
We could, yeah. I would say let's get it as obscure as possible.
Kurt Warner feels not that obscure.
It does not feel. I feel like people have seen the movie, The Underdog Story, and they probably already know. So Kurt Warner is gonna feel probably. Did Mario Manningham ever play for the Arizona Cardinals?
I don't believe so, no.
Don't think so?
No, I don't think so, James. I think you just made that up.
What about Antonio Cromartie?
What? He didn't play for...
Did he play for either?
Are you thinking of DRC?
Dominic Rodgers Cromartie. Maybe that's what I'm thinking
of. He played for the Giants? I don't know. Hold on.
Is there anybody that's coming to mind for you?
DRC is an interesting one.
That's an interesting one. You have...
I promise I'm not Googling anything other than Dominic Rodgers Cromartie.
Oh, don't do that. You can't Google that.
Don't we have to know before we put it in?
Yeah.
Well,
we're not allowed to know before we put it in.
Okay, well, the good news is it says he's an Eagle, so we're good. All I know is that he played for the Eagles.
Okay.
My apologies. I feel bad. I cheated right from jump.
That's okay. You're forgiven. Oh, there we go. Now I've got us all on the screen. This is fantastic. Somebody said Anquan Bolden. I don't think Anquan Bolden ever played. I don't think it.
I'm thinking there's like an obvious linebacker we're missing, like Carlos Dansby.
Ooh, that's a good one. Carlos Dansby is a good one. What about I don't know.
backup quarterbacks that come to mind. Who backed up Eli? Hefty lefty? Not him.
Tyrod Taylor never played for, as far as I know.
Kevin Cobb, John Skelton. I'm thinking of Cardinals backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Oh, Colt McCoy. Didn't Colt McCoy play for the Giants?
I keep on opening Steam. Colt McCoy.
Definitely played for the Cardinals, and I'm pretty sure I think he was a Giants backup at some point in time.
Did he?
Chad, help me.
That's a good question, actually.
Support me, Chad.
I don't
Colt,
know.
it's
I,
out there.
that's an out there pick. I like that. Hold on one second. Let me.
I feel like Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie did play for the Giants. I can picture it. I don't know if that matters.
You can picture it.
I can.
That's a good question. I
It doesn't
don't.
mean necessarily true.
That's true. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
I feel
Um.
like it was a backup
Oh,
for the.
Mike Glennon. Did he play for the Cardinals? Did he? Kurt Warner backed up Eli in New York. Okay, I
Who
know.
was
I know that.
who was the quarterback when the in 2017 for the Cardinals when the Bucs played them with Fitzpatrick and lost? Was that Glennon? When they had AP and they ran all over the Bucs.
Uh, wasn't John Skelton? Was it?
Can't be John Skelton. That's
No.
impossible.
Was it in 2017? Was it Palmer? Carson Palmer?
Was it?
I don't know. Was it
No,
Josh Rosen?
definitely wasn't Josh Rosen.
I'm unsure. Um,
I feel good about Colt McCoy. I also feel like
chat, you
DRC.
got it. Chat, you got to help us out here.
I feel like DRC played for the
How many
Giants.
people do we have in this chat right now at this exact moment? We got 57 people in here and nobody wants to help us out? Wasn't it Carson Palmer? I think so. I think we should just go with Kurt Warner. That
No,
feels safe.
gotta take a risk, man.
Well,
Go
what's the
DRC. That's mid. That's a
I'm not doing Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. I would
why?
much rather do Colt McCoy.
All right, do Colt McCoy then. I'm here for it. But
Um,
why are you so anti Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie? He definitely played for the Cardinals.
I don't think he played for the Giants. Colt McCoy was right though. We got
I think
6%
oh,
on that one.
Colt McCoy, 6%.
That's a good
Okay,
one. We like
cool.
that.
What's next?
The Giants and the Washington Commanders, sorry.
The Giants and the Commanders.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. AP played for the Commanders, but he did not play for the Giants. I know that for a fact. Um Fitz never played for the Giants, did he?
No.
Okay. Um I always like to think about quarterbacks, you
Yeah, of
know?
course. So many and so
I feel
no.
like that's such like a Josh Johnson. Is he somewhere in there? Like probably not, but um
The Washington Commanders. They have just such a rich history of talent.
oh, I know. Jeremy Shockey?
We definitely didn't play for the.
Are you sure?
He played for the Saints. I don't think he played for the.
He played for the Giants.
And then he
I
went to.
I
He
thought
was with the
he
Saints when they won the Super Bowl.
doesn't
He
it
won the
feel
Super
like he spent a year or two in Washington though? I feel like I could picture him in a Washington uniform. I feel like I can. I don't know why, but I feel like I
I got
can.
I got an off the wall one again.
Okay.
Do you remember Leonard Hankerson?
No.
I think Leonard
Who is Leonard Hankerson?
he was like a wide receiver with RG3 when he was a rookie, but I thought maybe he went to the Giants afterwards.
Somebody said Willie said Antonio Pierce played for DC in New York.
Did he? Did he play for?
Can we confirm?
I
The only way we can confirm is by googling it.
I only know that. Are you gonna cheat?
No, I'm typing in the answer to see. He played from 2001 to 2009.
If you're gonna look that up, then I want to know if DRC played for the.
No. I'm not looking anything up. It's whenever you type in the answer, it tells you. Steve, we're trying to figure out a player who played for the Washington Commanders. I mean, any Washington team and the Giants.
Any Washington team. There's been so many.
Phil Simms, or did he always play for the Giants?
Definitely always played for the Giants.
Okay.
I didn't think back that far. I forgot we could go really back into history. I feel
We can.
surprisingly good about
Antonio Pierce,
no,
Rogers Cromartie,
Leonard Hankerson.
Leonard Hankerson. I'm gonna do it.
You're gonna do Leonard Hankerson? No, go with the chat. Go with the who put it in the chat? Who was it?
Leonard Hankerson, 2011 to 2015, Billy.
Who put it in the chat? It's a short career.
That's a short career. What do you
Who
do?
put it in the chat for Pierce?
Willie put
All
Antonio
right, so
Pierce.
let's go with Willie. Let's give Willie the shot.
Willie, this is on you, brother.
You got it, Willie.
Let's see. Got it. He got it.
Wow, let's go.
5%.
Willie, stepping up.
This one's interesting. Giants and Panthers. Panthers haven't been around a lot.
Giants and Panthers.
Yeah. Steve Smith never played for the Giants, did he?
No, the fake Steve Smith played for the Giants.
Okay.
Um,
Landon Collins never played for the Panthers. I don't think so, Alex. Darth Alex. What a great name.
that is a good name.
That's a great name. Giants and Panthers. His backup quarterback? Jake Delhomme. Did he ever play for the Kerry Collins?
Harry Collins.
I'm pretty sure Kerry Collins played for both. I'm pretty chat. Do you guys remember Kerry Collins playing for the Panthers? I'm pretty sure he did.
I kind of remember that.
I feel like I specifically remember him in a. Somebody said Eli Apple. I don't think Eli ever played for the. It doesn't feel like he played for the Panthers.
Wait, is he on the Panthers right now? Who is Eli Apple on?
Isn't he on the Dolphins?
Oh, you might be right. You might be right.
Somebody said Jake Delhomme. That's not a bad one.
James, I like your.
I really feel like Kerry Collins.
Yeah, I like your Kerry Collins.
I'm gonna do it.
Kerry Collins played for every team.
Yeah, 1995 to 2000. I'm gonna do it. I'm scared.
You got it, man.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, but it was 42%. Apparently, everybody remembers Kerry Collins.
Who remembers Kerry Collins?
What the heck?
All right, fair enough.
The New Orleans Saints and the Arizona Cardinals. This one's easy.
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is that too obvious?
That doesn't feel that obvious to me. But
I'll put it in.
We did immediately think of it.
I mean, I just remember because I really liked Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, and it was a sad day.
Hey, only 13% said Adrian Peterson. That's not bad. Saints and Commanders, we also could have said Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, we can't use him twice, right?
We cannot. Nope.
Saints and Commanders.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Commanders are just not a team I think about.
Doesn't it feel like there's a linebacker who played for both? That's a tough one. Quarterbacks, not. I really couldn't think of anybody. Kenny Stills? No. Brandon Cooks? No.
No, Brandon Cooks was around, but he didn't go to the.
That's a tough one. They have a tight end. Jimmy Graham ever go play for the Commanders? Or the Washington team? Whatever you want to call them. Chat, what do we think?
Would have depended, I guess, when he went there.
Yeah. Chat, what are your thoughts and opinions?
I'm trying to think of random old Saints.
It's fair. I don't know a lot of old Saints players. Ooh. Mark Brunell. That's a good one.
Oh, that's 100%. Mark Brunell definitely played for.
Jelly said Jeff Faulkner. I'm going to be honest. I don't know who Jeff Faulkner is.
I almost want to Google that just so I know who that is. I can add that
Jeff
to my
Faulkner played from 1987 to 1996. I'm going to go with Mark Brunell. I'm going to go with Mark Brunell just because that feels
definite. Mark Brunell's definite.
Yeah.
He definitely played for all those teams.
17%.
All right.
Good job. Good job, third. Good job, third. We love that.
Well done. Look
okay.
at chat in clutch here.
This one's tough. Saints and Panthers.
Saints and Panthers. Didn't they have Sam Mills?
Who is Sam Mills?
He was like that linebacker for them.
General Mills? Cereal? Is that what they?
He's like one of the best linebackers in team history for.
I didn't know that.
For the I'm pretty confident. It might be too popular. It might be too popular, but I'm pretty confident. He's like a legend. I think it was like late 90s. Mid 90s.
Chad, help us out here. Help us out here. We got Saints and Panthers. This one's tough. Oh, Willie got it. Ted Ginn.
All right, fair enough.
That's a good one. But is it too obvious, Willie?
Too obvious. Yeah.
Jelly said Jake Delhomme. Did he play for both? He might have. We know he played for the Panthers. I didn't know Jake Delhomme played for the I didn't know he played for the Saints. This is a tough one.
Well, Ted Ginn definitely works.
Ted
I think
Ginn, Ted Ginn 100% works.
Sam Mills, if you depending on how.
Can anybody fact check General Mills for us?
Sam Mills, man, I'm so confident, dude.
I'm gonna put it. Just
I would
because
say I just don't know if it's more obvious. Ted Ginn's kind of like underrated, I feel like.
Sam Mills played from 86 to 97.
So confident in it, man. He's like a big legend.
You don't do you feel confident, Billy?
I feel confident. He's a legend.
Do you feel confident for me to hit the select button? Or
I don't know how.
Or do you want me to put Ted Ginn?
I don't know what the percentage will be, but I'm confident that Sam Mills is.
Oh yeah, Alex said Andy Dalton. That's also a good one.
Oh, Andy Dalton. That's a solid one. Yeah. Good pull.
I forgot about that. But do you want me to put Sam Mills?
If you don't trust it, you could go with the chat. We have good options. But I'm
gonna trust you because we're co-hosts here, Billy.
Go ahead. I got you, buddy. It's Sam Mills.
You got it right. 11%.
11. Let's go.
That ain't bad.
My man, General.
Now this is where it gets interesting. 10 plus sacks in a season for the Arizona Cardinals. Now it has to be no, it can't be they've had 10 plus sacks in a season and then they played for this team. It has to be they had 10 plus sacks in a season for this team.
Did Chandler Jones not do that? Chandler Jones had to have done that.
Doesn't it feel too obvious?
J.J. Watt feels too obvious.
It does feel too obvious. Is there anybody else who would have had 10 plus sacks for the Cardinals? I'm not familiar. Look, I'm not that much familiar with ball of the Arizona Cardinals in 10 plus sacks in a season for Arizona. Dansby, I don't think Carlos Dansby ever got to 10.
I appreciate the third saying, I would appreciate if we refer to them as the Aints.
That's okay. That's fair.
I like that.
That's fair. Dansby, Carlos Dansby.
Who was the Arizona Cardinals like edge rushers when they went to the Super Bowl with Warner and Fitz and Bolden?
I don't know.
Trying to go back, I can't really piece together who that would have been.
Bro, that's the only couple players I remember.
Calais Campbell. I don't know if he ever got 10 plus sacks. But
dude, he might have. He might have. He was
Chandler Jones is definitely correct.
Yeah, that's a correct answer.
Just maybe more obvious.
Do you just want to? I don't know. Calais Campbell. That also.
I don't know if he ever got 10 sacks.
He totally did. He totally did.
You think Calais Campbell got 10 sacks in a season?
Oh, wasn't Simeon Rice on the Cardinals before he went to the Bucs?
What was he?
Was he Simeon Rice though?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how well he performed. That's before my time.
Oh, he had to have had 10 sacks in a year.
All right. If you want to go with it, James, I will put faith in you the way you put faith in me on Sam Mills.
I'm not as confident as you are in Sam Mills. I'm very far from that confident. You know what?
The chat's got Kevin Carter over here. I don't know who Kevin Carter is.
I have no memory. You just want to do Chandler Jones?
I think back in the day, there was a player that was traded to Arizona and got.
I kind of want to just do Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones definitely accomplished the feat.
We're going to do Chandler Jones, folks. 41%. It's fine. 41. Look, it's fine. 10 plus sacks in a season for Washington. Albert Hainsworth ever get 10 plus sacks for Washington?
Of course not. Who's the guy? Bruce Allen?
Ooh, Brian Arakpo?
Oh, and Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan, too. Both of them. Good pull.
Arakpo and Kerrigan, guys. Which one do we think?
I feel like each of them play for the Cardinals, too, which annoys me that we didn't think of that.
That's true. I don't think they ever had 10
plus. Why do I think? I think Ryan Kerrigan definitely played for the Cardinals. That's just in my mind now.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Kerrigan? Let's go with Kerrigan. That's a
I think
good poll. Let's do it.
Kerrigan and Rakpo, I think both did it.
36%.
Okay, nice,
Last
nice.
one, Carolina Panthers, 10 plus sacks in a season. The obvious one's Julius Peppers.
True. Yes.
Did Luke Kuechly ever have 10?
Did Jared Allen get 10 when he was there?
I want to say no. Doesn't it feel like he didn't have 10?
He was there at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think Luke Kuechly ever had 10 sacks.
Doesn't feel like he had 10, did it?
Tony Ely? Did he have like a breakout year at some point? Tony Ely?
That's a good one. Let me raise you. Who was the guy that everybody hated? He went to
Oh
the
my
MMA
gosh.
or something.
Greg Hardy.
Yeah. Did Greg Hardy have 10?
Also, Charles Johnson.
That's a good one.
But Greg Hardy definitely had 10. Greg Hardy 100% had 10
Let's
sacks.
put
He
it.
got money. He got paid a lot.
We're going with Greg Hardy, folks. Please.
For the win.
This is for the win.
Got it, man.
Yes, we got it, baby.
What was the percentage on Hardy?
3.
3%. Wow,
And
the best ball at the end.
And his photo literally looks like a mugshot. It might be a mugshot. I don't know.
Oh, Willie in the chat. Kevin Green. That's a great pull. 100%.
Well, so let's see. Let's see some of the guys. So let's take a look at the guys who had 10 plus sacks for Washington. Deron Payne, Kerrigan, Arakpo,
Okay.
Andre Carter. Wow. Bruce Smith.
I said Bruce Allen. Bruce Allen was the GM. That's the guy I was trying to think of, Bruce Smith.
Yeah. Charles Mann was right. Dexter Manley was right. Wow, he had 18 and a half sacks in 1 year. Good Lord.
Insane.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, guys. Let's take a look at, you know what? I want to see.
Tell me DRC. That's what I want to know.
That's
what I need.
Okay, yeah.
Giants, Cardinals, DRC. I know it's in there.
Giants, Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Come on.
Give me a moment. Are these all players?
I've been picturing it this whole time.
Antonio Hamilton was on that list. Curtis Riley was on that list. Isaiah Simmons was on that list.
Ooh.
Oh, he was. You're right.
DRC.
Let's go. That's sick. He played from 2008 to 2010 for Arizona, and then 2014 to 2017 for the Giants.
Very nice.
Sick.
Very
nice. I love that. Colt McCoy was on there. Kurt Warner was on there. Mike Glennon was on there.
Mike Glennon.
Can't believe I forgot about Mike Glennon.
We had it. We had it. We just weren't as confident.
Yeah.
We did have it.
What about what was the lowest one? Apparently only 34% got Saints and Commanders. It's kind of that's kind of surprising. Let's take a look at some of the players.
Who did we pick for Saints and Commanders? I forgot.
Mark Brunell.
Oh, that was a good one. That was all chat, though. That was all the chat.
Yeah, some other people on Tim Hightower. Oh, remember that year Tim Hightower had?
Tim Hightower. Yes.
Dude, that was
also on the Cardinals. We could have used him for the Cardinals, too.
Dude, I loved Tim Hightower that last year. Those last
couple of years. I forgot all about his existence myself.
I hated that he was on the Saints because he was so good. Wow, Pierre Thomas. Dante Stallworth.
I did not know Pierre Thomas played for.
I didn't know either.
Stallworth. Wow, that is a name. I haven't thought about.
That is a name. I haven't thought about Pierre Thomas in years. Who else do you have? Junior Gillette. That was a good one.
I never would have pulled Junior
DJ Swearinger. Remember when he was on the Bucs?
I used to love DJ Swearinger.
I thought he was a good safety for us, and then he wasn't. Kai Forbath, Billy Cundiff. Let's see.
I can confirm that Jared Allen did not get 10 sacks for the Panthers.
He in
fact had 2. I'm glad we didn't go with him.
Oh man. Cardinals Giants. Let's see. David Carr. That's kind of cool. Kerry Collins was on there. Jake Delhomme was not.
Oh, I'm glad we didn't go with him. That was a
Jonathan Stewart. I didn't know Jonathan Stewart played for the Giants. I thought he was a career Panther.
No, yeah, at the end. I do remember that now.
Lewis Murphy. The Lewis Murphy?
These are some names we're pulling.
Wow,
I remember.
Russell Shepard? Couple of Bucs? What?
These are some names we're pulling.
Couple of greats from the 2010s Bucs?
The greats.
Oh yeah, that was the first player I ever met as a fully functioning adult. Was Lewis Murphy? Fun fact. Met him at the mall. Eli Apple was on there. Ross Cockrell.
Oh, Ross Cocker, another Buck.
Yeah,
Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl
Ross
champion.
Cocker.
James Bradbury was on there.
Oh, Mike Evans' best friend.
Yeah, David Mayo.
David Mayo. Oh my gosh, that is a name. I forgot about all these players are like rush back into your brain when you say it. That's
This
crazy.
one's gonna blow your mind because I
All right,
didn't even know this dude was in the league long enough.
lay it on me.
Former Buck, Kalen Clay.
Okay, cool. All right.
Oh my.
Wow.
Mike Remmers was on there. Joe Webb. Remember Joe Webb?
Of course, I remember Joe Webb. Jamarcus. Jay Cutler cursing him out on prime time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Jamarcus Webb. Joe Webb, the quarterback, the Vikings quarterback.
Yeah. Who converted to receiver later in his
Yeah,
career.
wow, Joe Webb.
Graham Gano's on there. Jeremy Shockey was on there. Interesting. Interesting. Jeff Schwartz. It's fair. John Beeson. I think that was the linebacker you were thinking of.
John Beeson's a classic.
Yeah.
Classic Panther.
Wow. What fun, guys. Hey, we're
Yeah.
1-0 in the Immaculate Grid. Oh, wow. By the way, Tyrann Mathieu was the number one answer for Saints and Cardinals.
And we didn't even think of that, which is so poor. Didn't
I
even cross our mind.
No. No. JJ Watt did
That's an
have 10 sacks for the Cardinals, by the way.
Oh, so we could have got that. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So there was a lot of like Landon Collins for Giants Washington. Probably should have gotten that one.
Yeah,
But
we picked the hard ones, man.
we did. We did. We only had what, two? No, three answers above 20%.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's Ryan Kerrigan, Chandler Jones, and Kerry Collins, which are not crazy.
I
Like,
thought Kerry Collins was a great one.
that was a poll and a half, man.
Yeah.
Well,
I was really-
chat, we're all 1-0.
Yes. And the
Fantastic.
chat played a big part in that too.
Chat, we couldn't have done that without you. Genuinely. But Billy, what a great way to end off the stream, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
We're
That was
one-
actually really fun.
we're 1-0 in the Immaculate Grid, everybody. Great work. We'll reconvene next week. And we'll continue our journey to be undefeated. But Billy, before we go ahead and end off this live stream, do you have any final words?
Do I have any final words?
Yeah?
Let's just go beat them Aints.
Yeah. Per the chat, we cannot refer to them as the Saints. So
Yep. Let's go beat them.
let's go beat them up. And we're undefeated. Hey, look, we're undefeated in the Immaculate Grid. We're on a roll, Billy. Now, hopefully, the Bucs can continue their roll as well and
Yes.
get to the playoffs. So, guys, hey, thanks so much for watching this live stream. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Go subscribe to Billy. His YouTube channel is at the top of the description. We're getting him to 1,000 subs. It's happening. Okay? It's happening, and you guys can control that. And Billy's going to do something special at 1,000 subs. We're going to have a party, and it's going to be fantastic. So go subscribe to Billy. Go check him out. Guys, thanks so much for watching this live stream. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, guys, we'll see you next week. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now. See you soon, and go Bucs. Thank you guys so much.